to Fresh Take.
You are listening to Nostalgia Lane on the Fresh Take Network.
What it do? Welcome to Fresh Take Nostalgia Lane. Joshua Adam, I'm Arbuthnot. With the talented, sexy, dangerous Devan near. It's Devan Seal.
I got some thoughts. More like theories. A lot of theories. Yeah, it's really hard if we're going to talk about Ahsoka right now. Well, of course we are, but
Papa Filoni took us and just wrapped us up in a blanket and lulled us into another galaxy far, far away and said, don't worry, I'll take care of you.
That was more convincing than the sequel trilogy planets that we went to.
Yeah. I want to know
not
that
even
location.
Close.
By the way, Dev, because it's been a second since I watched Rebels. So that the statues there, who were those statues of? I think I know, but I want you to confirm it for me.
On the planet Meridian?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay.
Why? What did you think they were?
The Wills?
Oh shit! This is getting to the point of that Star Wars lore I know nothing about. So you can tell me everything that you know, and I'll
It's
take
from
it
Rebel
for face
again.
value.
I think I got to do a rewatch of Rebels. I might do that this week. Of kind of going back and maybe watching some of the important episodes because it just is flowing right over my head. I distinctly remember everything from Dathomir and Clone Wars. It's weird. I watch Rebels and I do remember stuff from Rebels. I distinctly remember stuff from Clone Wars for whatever reason way better than Rebels.
You were like actively watching Clone Wars.
I was actually watching both, but I just for whatever reason I connected more and remember more with Clone Wars.
Well, some of the arcs that they dealt with were way more tangible when they came out because we were dealing in like a post prequel era where it was the only Star Wars we had for a while, and it was like, oh, that connects to this part of the movie.
Even the one of my favorite Clone War episodes is when they go to what's the Kyber crystal planet?
Oh, Ilum.
They go to Ilum and they have all the younglings getting their Kyber crystals.
Yep.
Loved it. That was one of my favorite episodes. Was watching the younglings get their Kyber crystals.
A lot of that stuff basically cemented well-known legend stuff.
Yeah.
And just basically put it on TV for us. Like there was, I think it's pretty well known now, but had Clone Wars gone on long enough, they were going to introduce the Yuzong Vong.
What's that?
That's the species that the New Jedi Order books that I read were all about that don't use the Force from another galaxy. So I read, all 21 of those books, and it was like.
Do you think the James Mangold show that he's doing that's in the High Republic era? Do you think now Filoni will be a consultant on those shows with those Legends canons you're talking about with those books?
Okay, so New Jedi Order was set after. New Jedi Order was set basically the same time frame as the sequel trilogy, so it was Han and Leia's kids.
Okay.
And like Luke and Leia are all kind of like in their mid ages, right? The High Republic is like 5,000 years before the movies, so it's going to borrow really heavily off of the Old Republic games or that kind of medium, probably. Like if best case scenario, we get like Revan.
Yeah, I think we will.
So, which is like was already kind of hinted at being canon because there was like a tease in
Obi-Wan?
The Rise of Skywalker, I think, or something like that. But
and yeah, no, I actually wrote notes today because I'm like, I'm gonna write notes so we can actually. Some people are like, oh, you forgot this and this and this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to.
We did forget this and this because last episode my Earth was out of sync. I was like crying halfway through the episode. Like I was a mess. I missed so much.
I think you were right about one thing though, which is what Anakin was.
It has to be his Force Ghost.
I think it was his Force Ghost, yeah. And it's interesting just the way that he got redeemed, and I think he's trying to avoid the issues that, you know, others had to go through. You made another point about him being a Force Ghost that I can't remember now, but it was so good. And I heard,
well, he didn't know about the Siege of Mandalore because he wasn't there.
There you go. That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah,
I saw people like, oh, it's all in her thought. I'm like, no.
No, that was literally a Force Ghost. That's like really clearly a Force Ghost.
So then I wonder if it was the world between worlds. That I don't know if it was the world between worlds.
I think it is, even though I don't
Force
completely
understand. Cease there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think the world between worlds is essentially, it's kind of like a manifestation. It's like a physical location of the Force, right? I'm not saying that, like, you know, Force ghosts live there like in Harry Potter, but for them to show up and exert themselves and exert their will, like I think it's totally tangible that they can exist in that world kind of without limit, more or less. They can take advantage of thoughts and memories and replay scenarios from other people without the limitations of them being in the real world, right? And it, like, every time we've seen a Force ghost, more or less they come in like really fleeting moments in dire need, right? Like we hear Obi-Wan Kenobi in New Hope, right? And then we only really see flashes of other Jedi in the real world. We don't see, like, because if it was that easy, then wouldn't Force ghosts just be all over the place all the time in the real world?
Yeah, you're right.
So it can't be that easy. That's why they only get like snippets of them. But in the world between worlds, I think because it has to be really in tune with the Force, the rules are going to be slightly different.
I mean, and I think you could also say it was Anakin's Force Ghost that pulled her into the world between worlds, much like Ezra did before with her fight with Vader, right? So it's kind of a similar parallel of, well,
sure,
yeah. So maybe that's a similar situation there. And then I guess Jason, the connection that he had to the Force, you can, which I still don't like that Hera heard it, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't like that either, but that needs to reinforce the fact that like anybody can become a Force user.
It's not sexually transmitted.
It's not space diabetes. You can test and put in a computer.
So yeah, that episode still, I really like this episode. Like you said, like this was just a mix of a lot of grounded Star Wars stuff that you love.
Yes.
Like fun new species, right Jedi stuff, good battles, good lore, interesting new designs for troopers. Thrawn, holy shit.
Oh my. You know what it is? It answered some questions. It was like 5, it was 30% answering questions, 10% fan service, and like 60% more questions that make us want to watch the next episode.
When he walks down and the troopers are like, Thrawn, like,
oh, that was sick.
This is like the third. I gotta see. I don't know if Filoni directed this episode, but compared to not. Like the shot that we had last week with Vader, this shot, holy shit, was good. Like the cinematography on this is so well done. And man, Thrawn, we've had this, like, we've been searching, throughout the years. You had the evolution of villains, right? Because you look for people to take the baton, right? So just kind of like, bear with me. You went from like Vader for the longest time, and maybe there's some people in the 80s that you could say to take it, but realistically, you would have like a Hans Gruber, or more likely Hannibal Lecter take it, right?
Yep.
And then there's no one that really takes that villain crown for a long ass time until like probably Voldemort, right?
Sure. I would not have thought of him, but that's absolutely the right answer.
And then Voldemort, as far as a modern villain, kind of held like the modern villain thing down until Thanos took it.
Yep. Okay. I'm good.
To have
I'm hearing
the
you.
championship belt. And now Thrawn is coming for that belt.
Oh, I think Thrawn's already taken it. Like he
I
just
think
went,
so too.
"That's mine. I thank you for holding on to it for me, and
Yeah.
thank you for holding on to it for me. And
Yeah.
this is what we're gonna do now."
Yeah.
This, so like, I don't know if this is a perfect episode. Um, I'm still really iffy on the whole space whales and the other galaxy
Don't
aspect of
worry.
it.
Thrawn, if he sees it, he's just gonna blow it up.
But the way that everything in this episode was staged, if you had given me an extra 30 or 40 minutes worth, that really should have been episode 7 of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, even just the crab people, really great design, really cute, really well fleshed out. I want a toy of the crab people. Did I ever want a toy of the porgs? No, I want a toy of the crab people.
I'm just waiting for someone to do a video of the South Park song with them. Crab people, taste like crab, look like people.
It's probably already out there.
Yeah.
But let's go back to your like the intro to Thrawn was just like really, really mesmerizing.
Mm-hmm.
And the chanting was cool. His lieutenant is like that's how people felt about Boba Fett the first time they saw Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Was, who is this stormtrooper with a gold mask? Why does he have a gold mask? Why is it exactly like the guy from Gladiator who got his head chopped off?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's some foreshadowing. And then it was like, you're looking at all these stormtroopers who are really, really well designed, who are like fusing their armor with gold. Some of them have broken armor. Some of them have this
I
red
have a
cloth
theory
all
on them
over the
too.
place.
So you know how Merrick, it looked like he was forged by Night Sister magic?
Right.
I wonder if all the troopers are too.
He does talk about how his numbers have dwindled significantly. So it makes it sound like there's been a lot of battles with these raiders or
bandits.
Maybe there's another spaceship in the on the planet that they've been fighting. But either way, like that's one of those things that just like it makes me ask questions that I really want to know the answers to.
I loved the Night Sister build, or the Night Mothers. That brought me back.
They looked great.
That brought me back to Dathomir and that whole Maul saga again that I love so much in Clone Wars, and adding the lore to that and the connection that the Night Sisters and the Night Mothers, whatever, are going to have to Thrawn as well, and the power that he has with the magic to go against the Jedi is another level that you can add to the power that Thrawn has. He's already the smartest maybe man in the galaxy and one of the best tacticians there is, but now that he has this level of the Night Sister magic, it's an entirely different ballgame.
So it brings up a lot of really cool fan theories that had popped up basically mere minutes after the episode, in terms of, so far with what we know, it seems like the Night Sisters and magic with a K are actually from another galaxy and have nothing to do with the Force. So in this galaxy that they're on now, they don't have the Force. Maybe they have magic. And then to take it a step
further, sorry to interrupt, were they not like the three witches or underground people from Hercules?
Oh, the Fates, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of the Fates.
Yo, that would be a tight little crossover right there.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
So to take it a little bit further, so I guess the question is like, well, why is Maul a Force user then? Well, a lot of the canon has kind of changed around the witches, as well as the Zabraks, which I think is what Darth Maul is. And there's another species called the Iridonians, and they look like Maul, but they have brown skin with lighter tattoos. And there's a really famous Jedi in the Old Republic cutscenes. He was like the master of the main female Jedi who was the lead of the game. And the theory is that when the Night Sisters came into our galaxy, they found a species that was most similar to them, which would have been these Iridonians or the Zabrak, or whatever, these species with the horns. And then they started stealing them and breeding them, and that's how we have Maul and the Witches of Dathomir, basically. So they're kind of like a hybrid of these like extra galaxy beings and then Star Wars species. So it's like good enough for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Just one theory I read online. I was like, okay, that I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the theories. I mean, this is not quite Mephisto level theories that were going on here, but there is a lot of theories going around, and I think this kind of opened a gate. I think we have 2 episodes left.
Yeah, there's 8 in this series,
and then the finale will go the same week as Loki. Which, but just a side note, because we're not really doing the rundown, we're just doing Nostarga Lane right now. Loki, terrible decision. Thursdays.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, I don't like it. Going against football too.
That's what I immediately thought of.
Mm-hmm. Don't understand that. Do not understand that.
Yeah, Tuesdays is like a nice little carve out because like
wait for Ahsoka to be done.
Yeah,
and then just take the Ahsoka spot. Just go right there. Perfect.
Well, if you were really smart, so we get 2 more weeks of Ahsoka, right? So that takes us into October.
Yep.
We always talk about how like Disney for a long time really made us like they would give you one show at the beginning of the month and they give you like a 3-week break to make you pay for the whole month.
Yeah.
Why not? So the finale of Ahsoka is going to be October 3rd.
Yes.
Why would they not just premiere Loki in November and make you pay for all of October?
Exactly, because I don't really know what you have after. I mean, Echo got pushed to January now. Not that I'm like
what happens,
fiending for Echo, but
and then you have like even if it's like November 1st, which is a Wednesday, or November 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, then you have basically the finale on on Boxing Day or January 2nd, even better. Like that's some really good timing if you think about it.
I mean, apparently Skeleton Crew is supposed to come out in 2023 as well.
Okay.
We'll see. And we get the digital.
It's to the point now. I don't believe.
No.
Anytime anyone ever says something about to do with Star Wars is coming out on such and such a date, I don't believe it. I don't even like want to know it. I just don't even tell me a date anymore because they haven't stuck with a date for like 10 years.
I'm gonna move back onto Ahsoka, but the last kind of rundown thing is, I was thinking about this the other day for the 2024 year in most anticipated. I'm like, are we gonna be able to do that?
No, we're just gonna run back half of the things from 2023.
I was just like, here's the video games we're excited for, in comics and books, maybe some albums.
Albums don't even make sense anymore because they just show up one day. Like Drake's released like 2 albums this year.
I should note that as we're doing this tomorrow, that the writers are meeting, and potentially the next time we come on this pod, the strike could be over. Hopefully. Anyways, our boy Balin.
Oh my God.
Man, every single thing, like it's so interesting to hear. You talked about the Tales of the Jedi I need this Tales of the Jedi for Balin. It sucks that Ray won't be alive to voice him. Because his delivery,
he's good.
I thought of a few things in this. I'm like, number one, when we get to the Emmys next year, I just want Ray nominated, just so he can say he was nominated, because he's so good. And just his idea of, like, he's like, I miss the idea of the order, but not the lie. I'm like, that is, oh my God, this sounds like that. Good.
You know who sounds like that? Fucking Dooku.
Thank you. You beat me to it. Dooku sounds, especially the Tales of the Jedi side of things that we had.
There's been a lot of theories as to who his master is.
Oh.
Yeah. Mace Windu seems to be like a leading candidate.
Well, Dooku also probably wouldn't turn, but Palp's got in his ear. Because I think because with Balin, I think the reason he doesn't go full Sith is because, he kind of flees the order as the temple burns down, as he talked about, right, during Order 66.
Yes.
And so he didn't really have that Sith that, like, Palpatine wasn't looking at him. And there's not really any Sith to go and kind of take him over, because I believe really the only Sith that were there were Palpatine and Anakin at that point.
So whenever he was talking about the Order, I kept yelling. I was home alone this evening. I kept yelling at the TV, show me Order 66, you cowards. Like, I wanted live action Balin.
I need another cut. I've seen the Grogu cut. I've seen the Kanan cut. I need another one.
Exactly. Like, I was, they're teasing us with this. Like, it's going to come sooner or later, but we can discuss him as a character all day long.
And is that a reason too why he doesn't believe in the lie anymore? Like you mentioned, maybe Dooku, and the values he has there, and we saw some of that in Tales of the Jedi. But I wonder if he was at the temple and he saw Anakin turn, and because of seeing a guy like the Chosen One and Anakin, if that made him not believe, because I mean he mentioned knowing Anakin a little bit to Ahsoka on the fight there. So I wonder if seeing Anakin turn to the dark side made him lose faith, because it doesn't seem like he's a Sith. And I still
he says a lot. He's insinuated like basically once every episode that they are not Sith and they're not Jedi.
They're mercenaries. And even
he says that, but I have a theory, man. I have a theory.
I think he is. I think he's fighting it, but I think
he's not a Sith. He's not a Sith. He's not a Sith.
No, he's not. I think Shin is going to be a Jedi by the end of this. By the way,
yes, that's my theory.
Yeah,
she keeps asking about the Order. She keeps insinuating that what they're doing, like what she's being taught, are Jedi morals. She is so interested in what it meant to be a Jedi, or like what it was like to growing up and all these stories that he heard of the other galaxy. And we actually saw her blink for, I think, what might have been the first time this whole show, this episode.
Yeah.
When she was listening to him talk about the Order. She's turning into I think she's turning into a Jedi. And I'm fucking here for it. I'm down. You know who'd be a great new Skywalker? This bitch.
Oh my God.
Like, screw Rey. Get rid of Rey.
You know what?
This girl.
We were talking about the sequel stuff after this. This could have been Rey. Because you and I were talking about all these levels of the sequel you could have had. Like, give me Poe. I still want Poe.
Yeah.
But even like with Finn, we talked about like the level of showing the Stormtrooper protocol, right? And building that up of them kind of more or less being child slaves, more or less, right? And put into this.
Grow up on the Star Destroyer or whatever. Yeah.
Even whoever that girl was, maybe Lando's daughter from Rise of Skywalker and stuff that she went to, like that stuff was interesting to kind of, intrigue into that. And then even as we were talking about, like you build up with Luke in that Boba Fett episode, it's like, yeah, this is my nephew, Ben Solo. It's like, what? And then just to kind of follow that journey. And even when we go get to see the old dude that says, oh, she's a princess to me. And when you go to that planet and Kylo takes it and everything like that, that scene is still one of the best in Star Wars ever, with, Kylo coming out and stopping.
Oh my God.
Shot from Poe and everything like that. It catches your attention, but man, it would just bring you in so much more. And the buildup here to Heir of the Empire is just setting this entire different plateau. And like you were mentioning too off air, now if we had to build up in that sequel of having Grogu and having Ahsoka and having Ezra and having Sabine, like it would be an entirely different emotional level. You would have gone from having $1 billion, like this would have been what Endgame and Infinity would have been. You would have made $2 billion for these movies in the box office, because take those movies, and if God willing, if we were lucky enough to still have Carrie Fisher around at this point, to have Han and Leia and Luke as part of those as well, ball game.
Yeah. So what you do, I think, is really simple. So one of the I don't remember when Rebels ends, but rather than have space whales take them out of the galaxy, you have
it more or less ends before Luke. I think there's an episode with Leia in it.
No, I mean like more so like in terms of like the real date in our real world.
Okay.
Rather than them being gone in a different galaxy and having to deal with like the wills and stuff or whatever weird fantasy stuff you want to do, you have them trapped in the unknown regions, or you have them go back to Scylla, which is Thrawn's homeworld, with either a clone of Palpatine or a clone of Luke or a clone of Anakin or whatever, right? And you're working on that cloning technology on the Star Destroyer Chimera. The beginning of episode 7 is them actually being found, or them coming back to the galaxy as this Imperial remnant. And Thrawn is attacking the New Republic. He's building the support of all the other remnants in the Empire. Maybe you have the Battle of Jakku, maybe you don't. And then that way you can really easily explain like the return of Palpatine or the return of whatever. And this ice planet, instead of Exegol, it's the Shiss homeworld. It's Thrawn's homeworld.
Not bad.
Instead of Captain Phasma, instead of like the First Order, you have all these Imperial remnants who have been putting together their armor in different colors and different things like that, so you can tell whose army they belong to. Instead of Captain Phasma, or with Captain Phasma, you blend her with his lieutenant with the gold mask.
Yeah.
You have Luke's new Jedi Order with Ben Solo, and then whenever he decides to turn evil, which could be the first movie, could be the second movie, whatever, it's like while he destroys the Jedi Temple and whatever planet they're on, you have him fight and potentially kill Ahsoka or Ezra or Sabine or whatever.
Maybe even Han still.
Yeah, you could have him kill Han and then fight Ahsoka and Ezra while the Knights of Ren destroy the temple. And then the Jedi are basically over. And then Luke has to rebuild with Shin or Rey or
because now the sequel is kind of wacky in the sense of Grogu and Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine and potentially Shin, of all these, maybe even Cal, of all these like big ass Jedi that we've started to form with, and like, yeah, none of them are around. It's just Rey.
Oh yeah, exactly, right. And the tough counterpoint to like a lot of these arguments in the Star Wars universe is like, how do all these, like, the galaxy is so big, right? How does this event always happen to like the same 25 people?
Yeah.
So
that's why I like the Benicio del Toro thing in Last Jedi again, because it built Rain. That's the only thing that Ray. I've said it 2 episodes in a row. Rain Johnson. The only thing he did good in Last Jedi is he had the idea of a bigger universe and how it's affecting things on both sides.
Well, not that. Of course, it's a really cool point in the real world, to really foreshadow like the U.S. military industrial complex. But I also mean, like, let's say I'm living on planet XYZ. Would I necessarily hear about Thrawn returning? The answer is yes or no, right? If you really believe that the main characters should be in all these series, then yes, I have to hear about them. I have to then go to where it's happening, and then like, oh, it's the gang is all back together. Which is really, but the opposite is really unsatisfying. If Ahsoka Tano's like, I'm retired from fighting, I'm gonna go live on this beach planet on Scarif, for example, and no one's ever gonna bother me ever again, and you just never see her again. It doesn't make any sense why she shouldn't be a part of the sequel trilogy, our version of the sequel trilogy.
Well, and I mean, as far as canon goes, we know that she is dead by Rise of Skywalker, because she's one of the voices that speaks to Rey. I'm just going by what the canon is.
We hear her voice, which she would have been great if she sacrificed herself to let Luke and the other Jedi leave the Jedi Temple as Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren destroy the Jedi Order.
And I mean,
like,
even in Force Awakens, the pattern of she would have tried to trade, she would have met with Rey and tried to train Rey, and then help Rey get to Luke, and then Luke would have trained her. So you have Anakin's Padawan teaching her, and then Anakin's son teaching her. So at least if she said she was Rey Skywalker, she has a little bit more leeway. If she had Anakin's Padawan and Luke's son teaching her, she had a little bit of a legacy of Padawan of Skywalker's teaching her, so there's just one.
Because she
I guess Leia taught, and then I guess Leia in the third one. So then you have 3 in a way.
That's a really, really good point that you just brought up. I love that exactly. I love how we're able to make these points into a cohesive story for a 3-movie trilogy that took us 10 minutes of planning. Like, holy shit, we're done. Like that took more, that's more well fleshed out than the sequel trilogy that we continually rag about. I know. But what we're seeing now is a cast of characters, and I didn't watch Rebels, so I'm not as attached as you are, maybe some other people. But what we now have are tangible timelines and tangible connections to these new characters to help take the burden off of Han, Luke, and Leia to carry the sequel trilogy forward. Han and Leia don't have to live in every movie. We can kill Han, we can kill Leia, we can kill Luke. But to come out of left field like they did in the other movies is really, really unsatisfying compared to what we were able to do, and then have, oh yeah, like, for all we know, Din Djarin and what's her nuts and Sabine have reformed the Mandalorians, and they're gonna help fight the First Order or the New Empire. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, we're also gonna probably get
to return the favor of the Siege of Mandalore.
Well, I have to imagine that Sabine is gonna see Bo-Katan again.
Do you have evidence why? Why do you think that?
Just because I think everyone from Mando is going to be an heir of the Empire. Is that simple.
Well, yeah, you would think that the reformation of Mandalore is going to happen
because you're probably going to have
or later.
Thrawn with his Night Sisters and all of them together, and the Empire that he has built against the Mandalorians and the Jedi that we have gotten to know. And I can't wait till little Grogu pulls out his little lightsaber and gets ready to go. Yoda's lightsaber.
Well, where is Yoda's lightsaber? That's a really,
because we saw him get it.
Was it?
Yeah, he was offered the chain. Was he not? It was the chain link or the lightsaber, right? That Luke offered him.
Oh, okay. So Luke had it from Dagobah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't think it's ever explicitly mentioned.
Stuff from Yoda's house.
Well,
taking my stuff, you are.
Well, do you know what? So do you know what Yoda's blanket is?
No.
It's Qui-Gon's robe.
No way.
Apparently.
That's cool.
Yeah. See, just stuff like that, just like a really, because it's clearly it's the same material as the Jedi robes. I don't know where it got confirmed or if it's just like a fan theory, but that's what people think or hope it should be.
So not watching Mandalorian, Rebels, obviously you don't have the connection to Sabine and Ezra, but I would imagine still you're like, hey, I don't have this connection, but this is still a rad moment.
Oh, he's a handsome guy.
Space Jesus Part 2.
He
learned from Obi-Wan, man. He learned from Obi-Wan. He saw in the first episode or second episode of Rebels, he sees a hologram from Obi-Wan sending a message out after Order 66.
Okay.
And he must be like, one day I will grow a beard like that.
No, he looked great. You could really tell their instant connection and their chemistry. Yeah. So that's a big plus, even if I'm not really connected to them as characters. I'm interested to see his power level.
He's up there, apparently.
Well, but how? Why? I need to know this. So,
I like that. I like too that Baylan talked about his parents, and was it Baylan or was it Thrawn that talked about his parents?
His parents,
because there was a line talking about how does Ezra. He's like, he came from kind of scrapper disciples of the Jedi Temple or something like that. And that's
he's talking about the lineage, because Ezra was never trained in the temple, so how could he be a Jedi? Yes. And then Baylan just brushed off, and he was like, "Oh, he comes from scraps from the Jedi Temple."
Yeah, and then he was taught by Kanan,
as if he looks down on Kanan because Kanan's training was obviously very incomplete.
Yeah, because his master, I cannot remember her name, but
Deepa Balaba.
Thank you.
But her
She was killed in
master,
Order 66.
her master is Mace Windu.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Yeah, she was unfortunately killed during Order 66, and Kanan got away.
Yeah, we see that in Clone Wars, I believe.
Yes, and in Rebels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he wasn't talking about his parents. He was talking about his Jedi lineage, which is very important for this. He was talking. It's like really come up a lot this show. The lineage.
When Baylan talks, you were glued. Like Baylan, it's for many reasons. It sucks that Ray Stevenson is gone. I feel like he had this whole next level of his life of doing graduation speeches and freaking narration for like nature docs and all this stuff, because he has
World War II documentaries.
Yeah, he just, when he talks, you were so focused in to what he's talking about. Him and Thrawn, they just command with their tone.
It's a lot of the tone, and then it's also like it's like not quite like a British royal accent. It's also like not a British accent. It's like very sophisticated, and it's because like British English is kind of like the predominant version that we hear in large parts of the world, or it's what a lot of people learned from. So it just like really grips you. And then of course, like, well, Lars Mikkelsen just like he just is the Thrawn voice, and it's just that's just what it is.
No crumbs were left.
His eyes look, the red eyes were just great though.
Yeah, I was kind of critical of the Hera makeup, and it wasn't huge in that, but everything with Thrawn is fantastic.
Well, I like too that he's in a lot of the pictures and a lot of the comics and stuff. It portrays Thrawn as being like a little bit old or a little bit younger and fitter.
Yes,
I kind of like Thrawn being like middle aged.
He had a little bit of a pudge.
He did have a bit of a pudge, and I wasn't against it because as the Grand Admiral, and they called him Grand Admiral, or Baylan called him Grand Admiral. Yes. Like he probably eats very, very well, and everyone else just scrapes by.
Yeah.
Like, there's some Lord of the Flies stuff where like those stormtroopers are like the craziest of the crazy because they killed off the non-believers or something like that.
Mm-hmm. If they even eat, again, if they're just put together by Night Sister magic.
On another level, that friggin' Star Destroyer. So first of all, it's called the Chimera.
I figured, I was like, when this Lego set comes out too, people are gonna go crazy for it.
So it's called the Chimera. That's his personal flagship of the 7th Fleet. It's basically been described that way. Not the part of it falling apart, obviously, but the two-headed snake on the underside of it is it's its hallmark since the Heir to the Empire novels 30 years ago. So the fact that it's like officially official is like that's the kind of fan service you want. Didn't explain it to anybody, but if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved like the ramshackle deconstruction of parts of it. Like you could see the structure of parts. You could see how they like took armor from other places and put it on other parts of the ship. Like,
thank you. Yeah, good remembering that. I did my notes here.
It's obviously not at full strength, but I really want to see it in a space battle.
Yeah.
Like, do the guns still work? Or like, what kind, like, did they design or make new guns based off of like, did they steal guns off of other ships? Like, we still don't know if there's other like kind of space species in this other galaxy yet. But I want to know.
I got a theory too. I wonder if they're able to keep Thrawn there, right? But they get lost in that area, right? And if the skeleton crew, they end up finding them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know who is this. Is skeleton crew with Jude Law?
Yeah, and kids.
Same time frame as The Mandalorian and its interconnected spin-offs after Return of the Jedi. So it's a coming of age story. Okay, well. I'm not.
They are.
I'm not against it. That makes sense, though.
They are young kids.
Are they?
Oh yeah, they're little babies.
Guess who's in Skeleton Crew? Not named Jude Law.
Who?
Jaleel motherfucking White.
What?
Yeah.
The comeback.
This might be the comeback.
He was just in After Party too. He was Tiffany Haddish's love interest.
Really? Was he good?
Well, they kind of like, yeah, he was good. He was good. I was like,
Okay.
what? Because they did like, she's like not a cop anymore, and she's like, oh, like I gotta. She gets into like writing books, and then she writes a TV show, and the guy that plays one of the guys from the Sam Richardson's character is Jaleel White. He's like, oh, who'd you get for playing me? And it was actually Jaleel White. She's, I love you, Jaleel White.
So it was Jaleel White playing Jaleel White?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. And it's funny because I saw some 90s convention. He wasn't there. And everyone from Family Matters was there. And every single person had nothing but nice things to say. I think everyone just wants him to succeed.
Right.
So,
oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him.
There's a lot of people that could use as a strong word. I don't know what other word to use, but a little bit of like Disney magic can really just.
I mean, for me personally, he's Sonic the Hedgehog, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you watch a lot of Urkel?
Oh yeah, every Friday night.
Yeah. You were like you were prime time for that. I imagine.
The best was when Uncle Phil showed up on an episode out of nowhere.
Yeah, there was a crossover. I don't think I ever saw it.
It was like the epilogue, and they were like, "Oh, this guy says he's you," or something like that. And then Uncle Phil walks in, and they surprised the dad from Family Matters. He had no idea that James Avery was coming in. They surprised him at the end. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. We got sidetracked. We got sidetracked a little, but that's okay. So
if James Avery was alive, he'd be playing a Sith in this show just for this voice.
Yeah.
He's pretty much just do the Shredder voice.
Oh.
A really good use of animals in this. Whatever the kind of dog wolf hybrid thing was, really like those characters. You need to see more of those, like those.
Yeah, that's cool.
I thought for a brief second, did you not think that Ezra was one of those bandits?
Yes. Like when she slices, she like up slices one of the guys and like cuts the mask and maybe like cuts his eye.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for some kind of like, not a callback, but some kind of like, ooh, like we're gonna, and I think we did. I think he's one of the bandits that was pointing at Skull and Hattie.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I was thinking it was gonna be one of them, but it was also like kind of, that's the one part of the pacing of the episode that was way too convenient for me, where it was like very video game-esque, where it was like, beware of the bad guys outside of town, and then 5 minutes later you run into bad guys.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, oh, here's an open world video game tutorial, more or less. So I didn't love it that much, but the design of them was cool. I didn't.
The funny thing about this episode is, you know how sometimes you see these Marvel or Star Wars or Succession episodes, just like 4 images of this episode without acknowledgement or whatever.
Right.
So like I was like, oh, this would be easy. You would like just do like a Smurf, and then you would do the trolls from Frozen, the little roll trolls from Frozen.
Yeah.
And you do the witches from Hercules.
Yep.
And then you just do Jesus.
Basically it. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll
be here all day. I'm gonna try to make this game for the next 4 times.
You could probably do that, actually.
I'm gonna do that on Fresh Take tonight. I'm gonna do that on Fresh
episode
Take.
Episode 6 and 4 images.
I'm gonna do that from now on. Ahsoka without context.
What would that have been?
That's what I said. That's what.
No, I know, but like, what would episode 5 be?
Episode 5. Oh my god, just tears.
Yeah, right. No, it'd probably be like Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Road, yeah.
Oh, definitely like what's the Ghost of Christmas Past or whatever? Like Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Christmas Carol would be a good one.
Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then something to do with Paul Young Lee.
Or annoying kids for Jason.
Oh,
he's got a lot of pluck. As Van Lathan says, I can't stand pluck. And that Jason's got a shit ton of pluck.
Well, I get it. Like, he's kind of like a special kid. I really, really can't believe at the end of that episode, Hu Yang was like, he has abilities. Just say he's got the goddamn force. Like,
I love when
the whole galaxy knows what it is.
Well, it was one year when the Appa, he's like, he has abilities, and Appa's like, okay.
Yeah, like you should. Why would you just say like he has the force? His father was a Jedi.
Like, I gotta get his.
Him. You were training him for 5,000 years. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, just gonna say I gotta get Appa's Star Wars name correctly. Captain Carson.
Teva Carson Teva. That's his name.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I mean, I don't really have any more notes. I think Baylan again is just one of the best characters we've seen. Thrawn, there was a high level mark to set from the books, from the comics, from Rebels, and you couldn't have nailed it better.
Well, you know what? Life is so easy when you make, I guess we'll call it like the easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
The voice actor, fairly prolific actor, not quite a household name, but you know him from 2 or 3 things. The voice is spot on compared to all the audiobooks from the 90s, or even the audiobooks, the new Thrawn trilogy audiobooks modeled his voice basically after him. So it's like, why not just use him? It's the same thing like if or when they do a live action Kanan, like it's just right there. Use Freddy.
So the director of tonight was Jennifer Guritzen, who directed a crap ton of Mad Men episodes, including Zooby Zooby Zoo.
Oh,
she did that.
I really saw her style come out there.
She did those 2 first episodes of Zooby Zoo. Oh my God. She directed The Suitcase.
No way.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Maybe the greatest episode and one of the greatest episodes in television history. The greatest episode of Mad Men.
Oh, easily.
The Gypsy and the Hobo. She also did.
Is that the one with Walt's, or not Walt? Sorry, Don's flashback.
That's what Don's flashback when the hobo said, like, when you go on the fence and if a bad person lives here, they do that. Yeah. There's a few other ones, but those are some of the ones that stand out. And she also directed Agent Carter, Daredevil, How to Get Away with Murder, 2 episodes of Westworld, Dead to Me. So pretty good resume. Some episodes of Master of Sex, Orange is the New Black.
Been around. Veteran.
Yeah. So, yeah. And like I said, arguably the greatest episode of Mad Men ever.
I got no problem with the direction of the episode. The dog thing looked great. A little convenient how like it's just basically like a big puppy that doesn't want to be like, wants to be tamed because Sabine was nice to it, but that's like my only real gripe.
She went full Jedi. She can talk to animals.
Yeah, when she can start healing herself, then she's really like a Mary Sue.
Yeah. Let's not get
it's coming. It's gonna come. She's gonna do something really ridiculously powerful, and you're gonna be like, oh, this is lame. But I mean, good for her.
I mean, I would say now we've had 3 banger episodes.
Are we in now? Like we're fully in.
I'm fully in. Yeah, I think I liked the first episode and the second episode. They were decent. Third episode was was okay, but since 4, especially 5 and 6, I really love this episode. I know 5 was very special for people. This episode was one of my favorite episodes of the year. I love this episode.
It was very, you know what it was? It was very like whimsical. Like it made us feel like we're actually on an adventure for once. Mm-hmm. The first couple episodes really cemented that like we're doing this character that everyone loves, blah 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 blah. But the one critical downside of the show is it took a long time to get going.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's going, I have no problem with it. I just feel like we really wasted like 3 episodes.
I agree. I'll give you the directors for the final episodes before we go on here. So the next episode is by Geeta Van Zandt Patel.
Okay.
And she's directed episodes of House of the Dragon, The Great, which is a show a lot of people liked that unfortunately just got canceled. Santa Clarita Diet, Superstore, The Mindy Kaling Project, Fresh Off the Boat. So a lot of comedy. Nothing really dramatic here aside from House of the Dragon.
But House of the Dragon's a good one because they're gonna know how to do.
She directed probably the best episode of House of the Dragon.
Okay, I was gonna say whether it be action, whether it be large casts, effects, or stages, like it seems like she has that experience, or they have that experience. Sorry.
And then the director for the finale is Rick Famuyiwa.
Oh, baby.
Go, baby. So he directed, obviously, Mando, a lot of the best episodes of Mando. He directed. Yep. He directed the Magic Johnson documentary, Dope, Brown Sugar, The Wood. So, solid director.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, going out.
Cool.
So Filoni is like, I'm good. I directed the one I wanted to direct.
Do you blame him though? Like where he's just like, yeah, I wrote this story, but like I get to do this one, and people are like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
that's fine.
It's disappointing. No, Dallas Bryce Howard, but I guess the episode she directed to Mando was, I liked it, but I know a lot of people didn't like it.
What?
The Lizzo Jack Black one.
Which one?
She directed the Lizzo Jack Black one in the last season of Mando.
Oh, whatever. Like
it was like this murder mystery. It was again, it was weird with the plot, but I thought it was a fun episode.
It really like doesn't really like affect, like I'm not negative against it at all, so whatever, who cares.
Yeah,
but Bryce Dallas Howard has done other like really good things though.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. We got 2 episodes left. Star Wars back? Because I'm thinking it might be back.
No, it's way too early to say. It was back for 1 week and people loved it, but like it last week scratched the itch of like, this is how we as fans of this series should feel all the time.
Yeah, it's too bad that Mando was subpar. Like, I'm going to say Mando season 3 was bad. It was just in the middle.
The problem is that it also ran concurrent with
Andor,
Boba Fett,
and Andor, and it came after Andor, and Andor set a different level for what people wanted from Star Wars.
It's just that kind of thing
Boba Fett side too.
Boba Fett and Mando 3 were kind of like, oh, this really feels like a blatant cash grab. I feel really like I've said this. I felt really manipulated into like watching these shows, not because of like any kind of emotional tie. I mean, but it did not reach the same heights because like Mando season 1 was the biggest show in the world for like the whole time it was out.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be feeling about Star Wars as a series.
That's how we feel about this. Like, look at the theories we're going with Mando season 3. It's like, cool. So we're on Mandalore and saw the big beast thing. I'm losing what it is in my mind.
The Mythosaur.
The Mythosaur, and that should have British gone. But because Kathleen Kennedy was like, this Grogu bunny, baby, let's see some more.
Yeah.
It kind of ruined the show because Grogu's just there. And the
interference as such.
It should have been all about Mandalore and rebuilding Mandalore and everything you're going after on there and what it means to be a Mandalorian. But instead we had Grogu and pirates and it was weird.
It's all right. It's all good.
Very weird. But Ahsoka right now, 3 episodes. We are so that's what I'm saying. Like, if you could have gone from Andor to a good Mando season to this, I think the height on Star Wars right now would be very good. But unlike with their counterparts right now on Marvel, at least we can see where we're going, right? So there's this part of me being a Star Wars fan. I'm excited to see where we're going. as within Marvel, and hopefully Loki can get us a little bit more excited about stuff. But Marvel, I guess I know where we're going, but I'm not excited because there's still no clear direction in it.
Well, every time I refresh Instagram, it's like 10 things that they haven't talked about in Marvel yet. And it's been like, some of these things have been going on for like 5 years.
Like a giant hand out in the middle of the world.
Don't get me going on the giant alien sticking out of the earth, okay? Just don't get me going.
But Ahsoka, I would give this episode a give it a 9.
Yeah, it's probably
8.5 to 9.
It's probably an 8.0, but I'm happy with an 8.0 for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really well done. 2 episodes to go here, and we will see how it rounds out. Thanks everyone for listening to Nostalgia Lane. That's Devan Seal. I'm Josh Arbuthnot. Until next time, folks, cheers, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh Take Network. May the Force be with you.